Well, my studio is actually in my home, and as you can see, I'm about ready to get some new neighbors as they're starting to build a new home right across the street. So as I do my video for today, it might be a little bit noisy as that tractor is digging away out there. All right, so here I am in my studio. Hopefully the tractors out there aren't going to be making too much noise. But as you can see from the other day, I've changed my canvases. I'm working on going back, and as I mentioned in my first video, right now I have about 5 different paintings, sort of all 5 of them sort of in the works right now, and that's sort of the way I do it. I don't like start a painting and see it through to completion and then start another. I tend to have several of them going at one time, because sometimes you just need to step back and get away from a work and come back to it later fresh. And so, yeah, that's kind of the way I work. So I've switched things out. The one that I was working on with, with the electric train, I've moved it aside. And this other one, based upon with my baseball cocktail glass painting. I think in my previous in my previous video, I said that, as far as composition and everything, I've got that worked out pretty much the way I want. But the paint, I just want to embellish the paint itself a little bit. I'm not, compared to, lots of other artists and a lot of my friends who have just been really prolific in their studios. I mean, they've really gotten to where they just really, become one with the paint, and every brush stroke is interesting. For me, I'm still, I think that paint and I are still getting acquainted with one another a little bit, and I think really, I think artists are really sort of always in that phase. But I'm still early on in my phase of becoming more intimate with my paint. And so what I'm wanting to do, I mentioned before, it was flat. And in fact, that's kind of the way I work. That's kind of my process. I tend to work as I'm working out the compositions. I tend to work more with kind of a wash, very thin layers of paint anyway, so the paint is not that interesting because I'm keeping it thin. Because in most cases, I don't have my compositions and content and things like that completely worked out. And as I'm working on them, I look at and I change my minds about things. I might decide, I think I might want to have something a little bit different. Maybe the baseball bat would have been, better over here, or maybe there should be a second or third bat in there. And that's been the case with this. As I've painted, I've definitely changed things. And also, I'm really sort of in the early phases of working out my values and things like that. And I've done that. I do that really even in the wash. I've definitely wanted my background to be very dark and mysterious and kind of threatening kind of background, and so I'm going to keep that value dark. In fact, I might even make it even darker than it already is, and then I just need to get more form into some of the images. But more importantly, I just want to make the paint more interesting. I want the viewer to be able to look and say, oh, well, that was a nice stroke there. I really like the way that paint landed. So that's where I am with this painting right now. And I've cleaned my canvas. Usually when I go from one to another, that's usually about the only times that I'll clean a canvas. In fact, sometimes I don't even clean it then. But I've got a fresh canvas. I'm going to lay some paint down there and start working on that. Now, here's my one of my dilemmas right now. I actually brought most of my supplies I brought down with me when I moved to San Miguel de Allende from Dallas, Texas. I had a studio there and a lot of supplies there. So most of what I've got now is stuff that I brought with me from Dallas. And I mean, just a few things, like some solvents and things like that I've purchased since I've been here. But I came down with a roll of canvas that these 5 paintings that I've showed in my previous video, those were all stretched using the canvas that I brought from Dallas. But I am now out of canvas, at least out of canvas in large enough pieces that I can do the with the size that I typically want. Right now I'm working with like 4 feet. I think these are a 4-foot square canvas right here, and I generally try to work that size anywhere from 4 to maybe 5 foot is probably the largest thing I've got in here right now. So I'm out of canvas. So and I've got some more ideas of I've got a bunch of ideas that I've sketched down concepts for new paintings, but I already know the next painting that I'm going to start on, but I don't have canvas for it yet, so I've got to figure out where here I can get some canvas. So, and then another thing about San Miguel de Allende is that the art supplies are not cheap here. So I think what I may start doing whenever I get back to the States, there are certain things, my large tubes of paint, things like that. I might purchase that there and bring it back with me. Things here, even though San Miguel de Allende is a fairly expensive place to live in Mexico, things in general are still cheaper here than in the States. Because this is a big expat area, the grocery stores and things like that, the department stores tend to be pretty close to the prices in the United States. And but other things, things that are made here in Mexico, are typically very reasonably priced. In fact, yesterday I was at the Tuesday market where they just have all kinds of fresh vegetables and really all kinds of things, hardware, just about anything you're looking for. There's a good chance you can find it there. But they have good produce, and I picked up some avocados and some chili peppers and I think some limes, mainly for me to mix my guacamole. But anyway, life here is definitely relatively cheap, with the exception of things that are imported and the grocery stores and things that are catering to the expat community here tends to be pretty close to the prices in the United States. So, but anyway, I've got to figure out where I can get some more canvas before I can get started. But I do have the next one I'm going to start. In fact, I've got a sketchbook. A lot of times, not always, but a lot of times, probably maybe about half the time before I start a painting, I've done some preliminary sketches the next one I want to do is actually a memory about a story that I actually shared on my other channel, my channel that's about travel and hiking, things like that. And it was about what would have been my very first hiking experience, but I ended up breaking my arm and falling out of a tree and breaking my arm before we ever even left to go hiking. And so in my previous channel, in fact, maybe I'll put a link to that where I talk about that. So if you want to listen to that story, you can watch that. But anyway, I decided I wanted to do a painting about that as well. So I did do a little bit of a sketch in my sketchbook, which is in my living room here. Let me go get that. Yeah. So this is my sketchbook. I was just sort of sketching last night, and I've decided to do this image of myself here again as an adult, because whenever I've decided that whenever I put myself into these paintings, I'm not going to depict myself as a little child. I'm going to show myself as an adult. But here I am in my Cub Scout uniform, because it was with the Cub Scouts that we had planned this hike. In fact, all the other kids in my pack or whatever they're called, den or something. They ultimately went on the hike, but before we even left on the hike, I fell out of the tree and broke my arm. But anyway, so I've just done a little sketch here of sort of like how I might portray myself. I haven't decided, what the background or anything is going to be, but that's sometimes I'll do little sketches. In fact, I think the one that I even did a little sketch of a cocktail here. Yeah, there we go. That's these are some sketches I did of the piece that I'm sort of going back and working on now. So I'll go to my text, go to my sketchbook here and just do some really basic sketches of things just so I can sort of work things out in my mind before I go to my canvas. But then sometimes I will actually just start fresh on a canvas. Sometimes I'll sketch it out. Sometimes I'll get a little charcoal stick and sketch some things out. But about half the time, I'll just start, right in with the paint and a brush and sketching things out. But here again, doing things in kind of a wash because I'll shuffle things around and change things around a little bit in these videos. Or not in the videos, but in my paintings. Okay, so here I am back at this painting. So yeah, before I leave you, what I'm going to do is get some paint out here, and I'm going to start working mostly in the background, and make that paint a little more intriguing, add a little bit of depth to my strokes, and just try to make this a more interesting painting to look at. So yeah, I think that's about all I've got to say today. Stay tuned, and we'll see what I'm talking about next time. I think actually my next video, I might talk a little bit about some of my previous work and how it has led up to what I'm doing now. See you later.